Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance Simply Reds podcast. My name is Reuben and I'm joined by Louie. You alright, Louie?
Good, thank you, Reuben. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, thank you. And I'm going to start off with a bit of a scenario question for you.
Go on.
With the new football manager out, I want to know what player, so the game Celtic v Kilmarnock, Celtic are 2-0 down and you're managing Kilmarnock. Who are you bringing on to try and save your game?
I mean, I'll be honest, my knowledge of Kilmarnock's squad... Wait, are you Celtic or Kilmarnock in this situation?
Kilmarnock.
And you're 2-0 down?
Yeah, you're 2-0 down.
I mean, I'd probably just quit. I'd just probably quit the game and reload, if I'm honest, Reuben. My knowledge of Kilmarnock's squad isn't great. Is it?
Not the Kilmarnock manager. The Kilmarnock manager decides to bring on Tyrese John Jules to try and save them from their 2-0 defeat. They ended up losing 4-0.
Did he not score? I thought. Did he not come on and score the other week?
He scored again when they played Falkirk. And they lost 3-1 against Falkirk.
That was the one I'm thinking. Yeah,
but also
in that case, yeah.
Also in that game, Eddie Beach was in goal for Kilmarnock.
Oh, blimey. That's a blast from last season.
Yeah, I know. Quite a step, I think, from not really ever playing a game for Crawley, played one or two, to then playing in the Scottish Premiership.
Did he? Off the top of my head, he saved a penalty or two. We had a penalty shootout in the Virtue Trophy last season. I think back when it was the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, and he was it against Wimbledon? I think it was Rob Elliott's first game in charge, possibly, and he went to penalties, and I think he saved one or two, off the top of my head. So I think that's probably the only time he played for us, or might have played one or two other trophy games for us. But yeah, that is a big leap.
It is. But anyways, moving away from talking about Kilmarnock, we'll very briefly touch on the FA Cup game, which I think is probably the least said about the better. It was a pretty painful experience, losing 3-0, player sent off, a number of yellow cards for us, and let's be honest, it was a bit of a shambles. Attendance there of 1,500. And probably about 500 of those were Crawley fans. I mean, yeah. Who needs the FA Cup anyways? Never liked it anyway.
No. I mean, famously, we've always hated the FA Cup as Crawley fans, haven't we?
It's a good chance to give other teams an opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah, it can't always be us. It's frustrating. It was. I mean, we sort of spoke about it before the game in our last podcast. We said it'd be a tough game. This was really predictable, I think, to the point where I don't think anyone was particularly surprised. I think it was just frustration, particularly considering 500 fans, good effort from everyone going up there. Not that it's a long journey, but really good numbers that we took up there, and yeah, just frustrating that none of the players seems to be up for it. None of the, and it was predictable. They're a team doing well at the top end of the National League. They're in the playoff places. They were going to be up for it. They were just going to be more up for it than us. I think it was pretty clear from the first whistle, and yeah, it felt like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And I felt like it was a wasted opportunity, to not only to progress in the cup, but to give players like Radcliffe a chance, maybe Shawunmi a chance. Certain players who haven't played much and who probably people are a bit confused as to why they've not been involved as much. And I'm not saying it should have been a weakened team, because I think, Radcliffe and Shawunmi are, for me, players who I'd happily play in a league game. So it wasn't necessarily a case of let's just rotate and give players who aren't good, who aren't quite at that level, at the level required. Let's give them some minutes, because I think they're both good players. But yeah, frustrating. I think it's almost a tipping point. I know it could actually be, and I know it sounds silly, it could be a bit of a blessing in disguise when we come on to the Bristol Rovers. Sorry, not Bristol Rovers. Oh, why am I thinking about Bristol Rovers? Apologies. When we come on to Saturday's game, Fleetwood. Yeah, I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, when we come on to the Fleetwood game and some of the changes that were made there, perhaps could be a blessing in disguise and sort of going forward for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the lineup,
It certainly felt like a tipping point, and there was a lot of frustration after the game. A lot of probably the most frustration I've seen directed at the manager and directed, yeah, specifically in his direction. Probably the most, yeah, which is I don't agree with it, but I think that it certainly was a bit of a it certainly was like a tipping point for a lot of people, or not necessarily a lot of people, but a noticeable amount of people. And rightly or wrongly, I think there's a lot of frustration directed at Scott.
Yeah, I mean, when the team sheet came out, I looked at it, and looking back to when we played, what was it, Maidenhead last season, 2 seasons ago with Scott. I thought that squad. It was last season, wasn't it?
Last season under Rob. Yeah,
I thought there were going to be quite a few more changes than there were, and so I was quite surprised to see who was playing for us, and I thought we stood a chance. I mean, it's weird to even be thinking about being worried about losing against a team in the league below you, and yeah, I mean, I think 3-0 is a bit of a embarrassment. I know you can. I know you can look back and be like, oh, we've had a player sent off, and it wasn't properly our best 11. But in years' time, you don't look at who was playing for you, do you? You just look, we lost 3-0 to Bournemouth. I mean, even my colleagues were taking the mick out of Crawley for that result.
That's when it's bad. Yeah. It was
very much so.
Yeah, it's a game that we should have expected to win. We should have gone in favourites, but we weren't favourites going in because of our recent form, or certainly our league position, because of how well they started their season in the National League. And like we said a couple of weeks ago, there is very little, if any, difference between League Two and the National League now. And so it was pretty predictable. I keep using that word, but I think if it is the catalyst for a few things to change in terms of perhaps some personnel and the sort of, not, I don't want to say the attitude of the squad, but perhaps in terms of because I think Scott probably questioned after the game the attitude or the commitment of the squad in general. He didn't dig anyone out in particular, but I think it was he was absolutely fuming. You could tell, and I think he was frustrated with the inconsistency, because you come off the back of a win over Bristol Rovers, and then and before that a good point at home against Walsall. Poor defeat at Shrewsbury, but generally the previous performances have been pretty good, and so I think he's frustrated with inconsistency, and that points to kind of a lack of confidence and perhaps a bit of a fragility in the squad. And if this Bournemouth games are sort of a catalyst for that changing, in terms of one or two personnel getting more minutes, one or two players getting more minutes, and a few things changing in the mentality of the squad and the way we approach games, I'm all for it. I say I'm all for it. That's a ridiculous thing to say about defeat, but it could be a blessing in disguise. And I mean, the FA Cup isn't our priority this season. It would, we've got a great history of the FA Cup. It would have been great to go on a run and get a big third round draw if we'd have managed to get there. But it's not the priority. The priority is moving up the league table, securing our Football League status, which sounds ridiculous because we should never have been in that position anyway. We should have been in a position where we can be fairly relaxed about our league status and be looking up the table rather than looking around us down at the bottom. But we are where we are. And if you said to me, right, well, you'll lose in the FA Cup first round, but you'll end up staying up comfortably this season, you'll push into the top half maybe, I think I probably would have quite happily traded that for, just for securing our league status, really.
Yeah, and just before we kind of move on to a better match to be talking about, Loft got sent off. Do you think it was deserved sending off?
So I tweeted at the time when he got sent off. I tweeted, I tweeted that I didn't want to see Ryan Loft play for Crawley again because I think it has been a pretty disastrous signing, and I know it sounds harsh, but he's got as many red cards as goals in his time with us so far. However, having looked back at the highlights or the lowlights, having looked at the red card, the Bournemouth, I think it's the number 15, should be utterly embarrassed, and the referee should be pretty embarrassed that he was conned like that as well, because it's just it's not violent conduct. There's nothing in it. It's not even Ryan Loft is, he's bending over, he's adjusting his socks or whatever, he's doing his shoelaces, whatever it was. He stands up. The Bournemouth defender's sort of standing over him, and he stands up. I don't even know if he makes contact. He might just accidentally bump into him with his shoulder or catch him as he's standing up. But he's not. There's absolutely no way that's a red card. And in a way, I feel sorry for Loft because his red card, was it a Harrogate on his debut?
Yeah.
I mean, the second yellow for that was soft as anything. So he's had 2 red cards where he shouldn't have been sent off at all.
Yeah.
So in a way, I do feel for him. I don't think he's particularly good enough for League Two, but I do feel for him in that his disciplinary record is kind of being used against him when actually the 2 red cards are pretty ridiculous. And I'm kind of surprised in a way we didn't appeal it, because I think that's one of the most appealable red cards I've ever seen. It's not a red card. It's not violent conduct. There's absolutely no way he's. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. That's the only way I can describe it. To be honest,
I think it's difficult because you had It'd be interesting to hear whether it was the referee who called that for a red, or whether it was the assistant, because the assistant was like 5 meters behind, sort of had a good view of it. And actually, if anything, that the tackle probably was more deserving of a red card than
it's
what happened afterwards. Because it was a nasty tackle. It was quite fortunate not to be.
You would have sent him off for the initial tackle. You would have gone, right, that's not even a yellow. That
potentially, because it was quite a dangerous tackle. From what I can remember, I've tried to forget about the game as much as possible.
Yeah, I only watched the highlights once, and that was enough. It was
quite a dangerous tackle.
It wasn't a great tackle from what I remember, but just the fact he's been sent off for that is, I can't believe we didn't appeal it, to be honest. Maybe I don't know why. I've got nothing else to add to it really. It's just ridiculous. But an unfortunate, hopefully a blip in our November. But it was one of those where you try and forget about it as quickly as possible. It's just the most forgettable day in our season, quite probably. And I think some lessons have been learnt from that. If we'll come on to the Fleetwood game in a second, but I think looking at some of the changes that were made, perhaps some lessons have been learnt, and some players have possibly used up their last credit in the bank with Scott.
Yeah, let's kind of move on to a bit more of the promising game then against Fleetwood. I wasn't really sure what to think going into the game. Fleetwood have some good attackers. I think Scott even said they're some of the best pairings up front in the league.
Yeah, he was very complimentary of them.
You've got Ched Evans, you've got Will Davies as well, who scored 5 goals in 14 games. And then you've got Ryan Graydon as well, and even James Norwood. He's been around the leagues for quite a while. and he's always a player that you're going to be wary of. And so when the team sheet came out, pleasantly surprised and pleased to see Radcliffe playing.
Yeah,
I think it was
absolutely.
good. I mean, Scott said Conroy was out injured. Although
We'll come on to that.
potentially, from what Scott said, it sounded like he was almost going to decide to play Radcliffe anyways. However, I think because of Conroy's injury, it's just helped to boost that. From what I
think
took from his
I
interview.
very much took that Conroy was dropped and happened to be injured rather than was injured and had to be replaced, is what I read in Scott's comments, because he basically said it was a change. He basically as good as said I was going to do that anyway, but yeah, Dion does have a back injury. Which I imagine Dion would have been on the bench possibly if he'd have been available. But it's sounding. I mean, given that, not to go back too much onto the Bournemouth game, but Dion was pretty much responsible for 2 of those goals, or at least in a large way responsible. 2 really poor bits of defending on, I think it's the second goal and then the penalty. But I'm not surprised, and perhaps it's a good idea for him just to be taken out of the firing line for 2 or 3 games, because he hasn't looked confident. He hasn't been at his best this season. And bear in mind, he's someone he was our captain when we got promoted a couple of years ago. He's capable of being a good centre-back at this level when he's playing well. But he just hasn't been on it this season. We've conceded a lot of goals, and I think even if Dion's back hadn't been causing him problems, I think it was a back injury that Scott mentioned. I don't think he would have. I think Radcliffe would have played anyway, and Radcliffe came in and was, he was as good as you'd expect him to be. For a player that did well, that acquitted himself well in League One last season after making a big jump from the National League, he came in, he was solid. He's a very. It seemed like a more natural fit with him on the right side compared to Barker. He's very quick, very physical. Good in the air. He's able to cover a lot of ground and win a lot of balls in the air. And by and large, he dealt with everything that came his way. And as a back three, even when they were putting us under pressure, I thought they all did really well for the most part. At 2-1. Throughout the game, but especially at 2-1 when Fleetwood were chucking everything at us. Yeah,
I mean, we also saw Adeyemo come back from injury.
Yes.
Louis Flower was starting for us. And one player I didn't quite realise was on our bench until he came on was Jay Williams. I mean, I know Scott was planning, I think, for Gillingham game to be the game where he'd come back. So it was quite a pleasant surprise to see the general back in the mix. So it's definitely a change from the usual starting 11 we had. Scott Malone, captain, although 16 minutes in he got injured, and so got taken off. And I mean, it started fairly well. We had most of the possession, and then thankfully Fleetwood got a player sent off. What was it, within the first 10 minutes or so?
Yeah, I didn't actually see what happened with the red card initially. I sort of, it was, again, we it's 2 home games in a row where we've the opposition had gone down to 10 men in the first half. This one much earlier than the Bristol Rovers game. But I thought it was a red card. I don't think there's anything too controversial about it.
Right, it's 2 yellows.
Well, there you go. Yeah, and their player wasn't complaining. I can't remember the name of the lad who got sent off, but he certainly wasn't complaining. And if teams want to continue, that was it. Zach Medley, ex-Arsenal, I believe, came through the Arsenal academy. But if teams want to continue,
indeed, he did. And played for Kilmarnock.
Teams want to continue. So there's another Kilmarnock link. This is a weirdly Kilmarnock themed episode. I mean, I'm fully in favour of teams continuing to get players sent off against us, if that's what it takes for us to keep racking up home wins. Because it was a weird one where we didn't really look comfortable even against 10 men. Though I've got to say, I thought we the work ethic and the pressing was there, and we obviously, I mean, it never felt like a game that we were in full control of. We obviously scored a great goal on the counter attack. Josh Flint I didn't realise Josh Flint was that fast, but you watch back the highlights and he pretty much, just outstrips two or three of their players who are trying to catch up with him, with the ball as well. And then good ball into Flower, who finishes really well. And that's, Flower's got to be. He's made a case for himself to be starting going forward now. I think he's obviously started on Saturday. Worked hard, got into some good positions, took his goal really well. That's two league games in a row that he scored. You got to think he's made a real case for himself to be starting the next few games, because what else could he do really? He has to be considered the number 9 for the foreseeable future, probably. No one else is scoring goals. No one else has really made that position their own, have they? So
and it'll be interesting when McCurdy comes back as well, seeing the likes of him and McCurdy playing together. And
I'm very excited for that.
Just on his goal, I think somebody said it was 10 seconds from goalkeeper to back of the net, which isn't
I think
normally,
it was 9.9 seconds.
It's not really like the Crawley way.
No.
Normally, the goalkeeper doesn't tend to rush, and we don't really tend to counter-attack that much. So I think it's worth just giving a shout out to Joe Wallacott if he's listening. He won October Player of the Month, which, again, fair play to him. Like, he does not, after last season and the summer, I think it's just great that he's doing well.
Yeah.
And he's actually able to put in a performance.
Yeah, it's what we said before. It's a testament to him and his professionalism that, he's probably expecting to leave in the summer. I think the club were probably, expecting him to leave. That he wasn't involved in pre-season much at all. I don't think he played any minutes in pre-season. Didn't start the season as the starting keeper, obviously, but he's come in over the last 5-6 games, however long it's been since Davies got injured, and he hasn't really put a foot wrong. And I think it's an interesting lesson, and you can't write off players. I know a lot of us do that, and a lot of us make really quick judgments on players and are keen to say, this so and so is useless, so and so shouldn't play for us again. I'm guilty of that. We're all guilty of it. So perhaps there's one or two players in the squad who might have a similar sort of redemption arc as the season goes on. But he's absolutely steps up when we needed him most. So he deserves a lot of credit for that. And I think Scott mentioned that that counter attack where he's thrown the ball out, or he's got it out to Flint to carry the ball down the pitch. I think Scott mentioned that was something they had actually worked some in training. The goalkeeper coach, is it Chris Dixon?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I've definitely got his name right, Chris Dixon. That's something that they've been working on from defending set pieces, which is interesting because you just said it's not really something we do very often, and it isn't. But it was certainly something that last season we got caught out on a lot. I've got memories of us conceding at Peterborough and in other games with similar goals like that on the counter. So it's and fair play to Flint, because didn't realise he was that quick to bring the ball forward and get us up the pitch that quickly, and obviously great composure to play the pass to Flower, and great finish, and set us on our way.
It did. At half time, Fleetwood made a change of bringing Toby Malarkey on. Just once they strengthened their defence. Then
the sarcasm in your voice couldn't have been less hidden.
The 65th minute, Harry Forster, who came on in the 16th minute to replace Scott Malone, scored from outside the box, a great goal, and a player who, again, has had mixed fortunes over the season. but it's his second goal in as many league games now. And yeah, hopefully he can. I mean, he can be such a good player when injuries are not kind of holding him short.
Yeah, it's another left-footed goal off the bench for Harry Forster, and it's I think everyone knows when he's fit, and he's just such an invaluable player on either side because his work rate, his defensive abilities come on such a long way. His ability to get up and down the pitch, and he's so direct. And he's going to take players on. And he's going to try and make things happen. And yeah, fair play to him. It's a really good goal. I thought it was a good goal at the time, and then watching the highlights back, it was further out than I realised, and it's a really good strike. The keeper doesn't even get close to it, and yeah, it was needed because at the time I didn't think we played particularly well throughout the match. We didn't really have a lot of control compared to against Bristol Rovers, against 10 men where we were knocking it about for fun, and we could have scored 5 or 6. This was a much tougher game against 10 men. And there was a period probably between our second goal and then when Fleetwood pulled one back, where that was actually our best period in the game. We looked, sort of got in some dangerous areas, created a couple of half chances, and we looked like we were going to go on and score another goal possibly. And then obviously they pulled one back. But yeah,
it's always concerning. I think us Crawley fans have been through far too many games where we've been 3-0 up and still somehow have messed up.
Well, maybe that's the key. Just don't score a third goal. But yeah, back to Harry quickly. Yeah, I think when he's fit, he's such a versatile, hard-working player. He's got end products. His attitude's great. His work rate's great. He's you can see why Scott loves him. Scott loves having him in the team because he'll do anything you ask him. He'd probably go in goal if you asked him to, and just a really sort of player you need in your squad really. And he's, again, if he's fit, do you start him on Saturday? If Malone's injured, do you Pereira's probably fit again now. He came off the bench as well and looks good, quite good out on the left. Do you start Pereira and Forster? Is that 2 attacking going away at Gillingham? I'm sort of jumping ahead here in our running order, but just it's not. And obviously Adiamo's back, got a good 60 minutes under his belt, so it's one of those where suddenly we've got wide options, and Cashman hopefully is back soon as well. And we've gone from having very few options out wide to suddenly Forster's back, Adiamo's back, Pereira's fit, so it's looking pretty positive. And it's a bit of a selection headache for Scott.
It is. And then just in the kind of closing minutes, Jay Williams coming back, playing for us. But by the sounds of it, he put in some great tackles and just doing what Jay Williams does.
I think 10 seconds to put in a crunching tackle and then square up to the Fleetwood. I can't remember. It's probably Fleetwood left back, possibly, or the Fleetwood left midfield. Someone was on the left for Fleetwood, and yeah, proper. It was literally 10 seconds. It was as if he'd never been away. And I think it was one of those where he's been out injured for so long, he probably just needed to get it out of his system. He's like, right, I haven't crunched an opposition player in about 3 months. What else am I going to do? But he was actually, it was, it's good to see him back. Again, another option in the middle for us. I think his leadership and his drive and his ability to just get us on the ball, win the ball back, get us on the ball, get us going forward. I think it's been missed at times this season. So, yeah, really good to have him back. And hopefully, because he has had his injury problems last season when he was at MK, he's obviously missed a massive chunk of this season. So hopefully going forward, he can remain injury-free and gives us a great option in midfield.
Yeah, I'm just trying to do some research because actually I don't know whether Piero is actually going to be available the weekend because it's internationals.
And
he plays for Antigua and Bermuda.
Has he been called up?
I don't know. Sorry, Antigua and Barbuda. Because I saw on his Instagram story earlier an image of him at a beach. Well, an image of somebody else at a beach. When you share somebody's story.
Oh yeah.
Which I thought was a bit strange if he wasn't also there. So potentially he's there.
Yeah, okay, that's
And also, I think Dixon's also with Jamaica.
Yes, yeah, which is a
We're
shame.
not very
He's
good
not been able
at
to get a run of games.
congratulating people for international call-ups,
No,
I have to
no.
say.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't even aware. I mean, obviously, yeah, Dixon was called up last in the last international break, so that's not a surprise. Yeah, yeah, it'd be a shame if. I mean, obviously, great for Pereira if he is called up. He's been probably one of our most consistent players this season. Certainly our most creative. So well deserved from him. And he will obviously be a big miss at the weekend because he's capable of creating something out of nothing. He gets us up the pitch. Great left foot on him. So yeah, real shame if he is missing. But obviously, on a personal note for him, a fantastic achievement.
Gets to escape
Yeah,
the
obviously,
rain of England.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I'd much rather be on an Antiguan beach right now.
I don't
But
know.
yeah, and obviously for Dixon, it's a shame for Dixon because he's kind of been in and out of the team and he's not been able to get a run of games, partly because of international being called up for internationals. Obviously, again, will he see it as a shame if he's playing for his country? He's probably not too fussed in that sense, but yeah, he started against Fleetwood. Looks lively at times, but you can tell there's a quality player there. The way he carries the ball and his pace and how direct he is, he's really exciting. At the same time, I think that he's clearly still a little bit raw, and perhaps that's why at times Scott hasn't um, thrown him in as much as we might have expected. Um, but he's certainly a player who can make a huge impact for us. Possibly once this international breaks out of the way, and we've got a clear run until for the rest of the season, really, in terms of international football. Possibly he'll get more minutes as the season goes on, and it could be one where if you look at like Clyde Lawless, who didn't always start in the first half of the season a couple of years ago, and then played a massive part in the second half, could be one of those situations. But yeah, it's we've got options coming back in midfield with the likes of Jay Williams, and now we're losing options. We've got wide options coming back with Adeyemo and Forster, and then we lose a wide option to international football. So it's a little bit frustrating in that sense. And I'm sure Scott, I think part of our problem this season in terms of the consistency of results and performances has been that we haven't been able to put out really a settled 11. You make a couple of changes every game, maybe. You're never going to put out the same 11 for every game, but it's frustrating if you can have the core sort of 7 or 8 players that are going to start 90% of your games. Then it's a lot easier. But we just haven't had that this season, and I think that really doesn't help. So hopefully, going forward, that's something that can be addressed. But with our injury issues and everything, perhaps that's a bit of a pipe dream.
Yeah, indeed. So before we kind of move on and look ahead to our next games and look around the club for news, we'll quickly do the Reds rollover draw. So the winner for the month of November, so this is all entries from October, is the Crawley Town Football Club Disabled Supporters Association. In joint second place is Chris Pash and Matthew Adenall. So I believe money will be going into your bank accounts at the end of the week. So congratulations to all winners, and if you fancy joining, then you can do so very, very easily on the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance website. So welcome to sign up there to help both us, to help yourselves with a chance of winning some money, but also most importantly, to help the club.
And I believe that's ccfcsa.co.uk.
It is correct.
In case anyone was wondering what the link would be, yeah.
Yeah. Also this week, we heard that the Crawley Town Football Club are going to be launching a new fan advisory board, also known as FAB. And so it will. This is all in line with the football governance bill that's going to be coming in to play, where football and supporter consultation is going to play a bigger part. And so to ensure that the club follow best practice, meet those expectations, the club are going to be launching this formal consultation process with the Fan Advisory Board. So we're working alongside the Football Supporters Association, and the FAB will be a bit of an independent body, so the club won't have much to many decisions really in regards to how it's all set up. So the members are 6 of the 11 seats are going to be voted for by fans, and these are fans that who have ticket history with the club. And then the other seats are going to be made up of one from the Supporters Alliance, CTSA, one from GH Coaches, one from the Community Foundation, one that is a sponsor, and another that is a I can't think off the top of my head what the other one's going to be. So today, on the 10th, the club started opening applications for those 6 seats. So do feel free to apply. We'd highly recommend it. And yeah, from a CTSA perspective, I think it's great that the club are going to be doing this. And I think it's an important step. I mean, we've tried, the Fan Council and then the Devil's Advocates, but at the end of the day, there were still fans that were just chosen by the club, and people would argue that there were besties with Preston or Ben or whoever, and so it's great that they're going to be using the FSA to kind of make this a lot more independent, and
absolutely,
yeah, hopefully it'll be a good step kind of going forward.
Yeah, and also from a CTSA perspective, I think, is it 3 different sort of fan representatives that the CTSA have had during WAGMI's tenure as owners? Was it 2 or 3? Certainly,
2 or 3. Yeah,
certainly. Obviously, which was very much. I hope you don't mind me saying this, Reuben. It very much felt like a token role and something that was never really taken seriously by the previous ownership, which was obviously very frustrating. So this is a really promising step, especially considering it. It's aligns with the Football Supporters Association and their expectations of fan engagement, and like you said, the football governance bill that's coming in, and the requirements that will place on clubs to engage with fans. This is a really proactive step, which is really positive, and yeah, very, very welcomed. And yeah, the fact that hopefully, I think 3rd time lucky in terms of having a fan representation and a really good line of communication between the club and the fan base, which should hopefully promote a lot of transparency and a lot of constructive dialogue. I think is the best way. I think that's the best outcome, the best way to put it.
No, 100%. So yeah, closing date for applications is Thursday, the 28th of November. So over the next few days, we have got 2 games. Firstly, Peterborough, which by the time people have probably listened, will know whether we're through to the next round or not. So we've basically got to beat Peterborough, whether that's win in 90 minutes or win in the penalty shootout, because we're currently drawing on points, and Leyton Orient are already through. So it's being played at the Broadfield Stadium. No doubt attendances will be probably poor again, but it could be an opportunity to see the likes of Jack Rolls, see the likes of, could Harvey Davies potentially be playing in goal back? Would we see Joey McKenna? Yeah, I think there'll be quite a number of changes. I'd expect
some heavy rotation going into a tough away game at Gillingham. I'd expect to see Rolls, who hasn't been involved at all recently. Possibly Kaheem Dixon if he's available. I don't know. Actually, no, he's probably already flown out for international duty. But certainly the likes of Rolls. Perhaps Jay Williams gets a few minutes to build up his fitness. Wouldn't be surprised, if McKenna and Radcliffe both play. Obviously, Radcliffe might now be our starting centre back for the foreseeable future. But we've only got so many centre backs, and someone's got to play. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some minutes. I think it'll be. As much as I don't take the Virtue Trophy that seriously, I have no real feelings if we win or lose in those games, purely because of the whole B team under 21 situation and what have you. And I think it has been devalued as a trophy for League One and League Two clubs. But that all being said, it is a good opportunity. It's competitive minutes. It's a good opportunity to see some of the fringe players play. And you always want to win every game. I'm happier if we win, obviously. So it'll be certain players like, for example, Jude Robertson. Is he going to get some minutes? We brought in 2 or 3 young players over the summer. Are they going to get minutes? That'd be quite exciting because it's something that we've not always been able to do. Bringing through our own youth players. So always a good opportunity to see how test the depth of our squad and get minutes into legs, because I imagine someone like Jack Rolls will be needed at some point, particularly over Christmas, where the fixtures suddenly start flying at you. They come thick and fast. So it's always, and obviously our games against Peterborough tend to be ridiculous. 8-7
4-3 or
goal thrillers,
5-2, whatever.
Yeah, I quite frankly, I'd be happy if we never play Peterborough again. But it's and they don't tend to be boring games either. I think the nature of them, because they're not taken less seriously by the players, but I think because there's less pressure on them. It's similar to in the early stages of the League Cup, where you'll see like teams losing 4-3 or 4-4, and then there's a penalty shoot. It's kind of a similar sort of feeling. There's less pressure on. Teams tend to play a little bit more relaxed, so it's always the games themselves are usually, off the top of my head at least, relatively good value. Should be a good low pressure, hopefully enjoyable game to watch.
Yeah, indeed. So hopefully we win that, so then we can then go on to Gillingham, who, I mean, they're a really interesting team in the sense that up until the 27th of September, they hadn't lost a game. 28th of September is the day after. Their manager, Gareth Ainsworth, goes for heart surgery. They then lose. He then has his first game back on Saturday and win. So they literally have lost or drawn every single game where their caretaker manager, assistant manager has taken over. Then Gareth comes back and start winning again.
Yeah, I think that was their first win in 5. Just looking at the form table, which is obviously doesn't bode well for us because
Well, if you're counting other games, first win in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They lost or drawn 7 in a row.
There you go. So obviously, wish Gareth well and glad that he's fully mended from his surgery and he's fully recovered. But obviously, in terms of from a selfish Crawley Town footballing point of view, it doesn't bode well for us. And I think even their 17-game unbeaten run, it was quite an odd one, where there were a lot of draws in that as well. I think there's a lot of low-scoring draws that they weren't that necessarily winning a lot of games, but
they went on a huge run of draws,
and they're not they're not the biggest attacking threat. If you look at all the other teams in the top half, or certainly in sort of the playoff mix, only Salford have scored as few goals as them. They've only scored 20 goals this season. I say only. We've scored 16, so we'd probably quite like to have scored 20 goals. But they're not a huge attacking threat, but they are defensively very solid. Got the best defence in the league outside of Oldham, in terms of goals conceded at least. I haven't looked at our favourite XG stats, but they're a typical Gareth Ainsworth side. They keep it tight, very disciplined, very organised, don't concede many. They're not going to be free flowing, attacking, scoring 2 or 3 every game. But they, if they score, they're very happy with a 1-0. If they score early on, they'll see it out. So the game where we're going to need to be really at it from the off, we're going to need probably to score the first goal, partly because every time we've gone behind this season, we have, I think we've lost every time we've gone behind, possibly. I don't think we've got a single point coming from behind this season. So, if we concede early on, or if we concede the first goal, it doesn't bode well. But when we have scored first, I don't think we've lost having scored first. Off the top of my head, I don't think we've lost having scored first. So that is obviously just then, I mean, does that speak to a mentality thing where if we score first, we get a lot of belief and a lot of confidence for the rest of the game, or is it just a coincidence? I think after 15 games, you can pretty much rule out a coincidence. But all that being said, I feel like I'm weirdly confident. Our away form hasn't been great this season. We've only won one away from home, but I kind of see it as a similar game to the Gillingham one in terms of the sort of the stylistic matchup. They're going to be quite direct, probably more direct than Walsall. Because I see it as being quite a similar kind of a similar sort of game. Walsall came to our place and we played them off the park for most of the game. Not saying we're going to go to Gillingham and absolutely dominate them in the same way that we played in that game, but I kind of feel like that, looking back at that Walsall game and how well we played, that gives me quite a bit of confidence going into this game that we can. I'm not saying we will, because we know what our away form's been like, and we haven't won 2 games in a row all season, I don't think. But certainly, I think it gives me confidence that we can go there and get a result. We certainly shouldn't. I don't think we should be worried, too fearful of them. If we were going to MK Dons, who obviously won 3 in a row, and they're looking like they've really clicked, or if we were going to Swindon or someone like that, where they've got really good attacking players and playing really front foot football, I'd possibly be a bit more worried. But I think going to Gillingham, I'm not sure it's necessarily a place where we should be hugely worried. I think get the ball down, play on our own terms, deal with what they're going to chuck at you. You know exactly what sort of football you're going to get with Ainsworth. He never changes it up. He's always going to be a pretty direct, physical style of football kind of manager. That's always going to be his his way of going about things. So they're not going to surprise us tactically. They're not going to try and play us off the park. They're not going to try and play round us. We just got to make sure we're on the second balls. We're winning our battles. We're working hard. We're running, and all the basics that I think we haven't done consistently this season. And if we can do that, I think you have to earn the right to play in these sorts of games. You can't just turn up and think, right, we're going to knock it about and impose ourselves on the game. You've got to win your duels. You've got to pick up on the second balls. You've got to be strong from set pieces. You've got to turn their defence around, be playing balls in behind. So if someone like Louis Flower's playing up front, he's quite mobile. He's going to be making those runs. That's a real positive. If McCurdy's back, again, he loves running in behind. He's always going to be, for 90 minutes, he's going to be making those runs. So, if those two are playing up top together, I think that's something I'd like to see, because I think they'll link up quite well. I think they'll both be causing a lot of problems. But I'm unusually, for when we look ahead to the weekend's games, I'm normally pretty pessimistic, but I'm unusually optimistic or relatively confident that we can go there and get something. And I'll probably completely, do a complete 180 on that on Friday evening or Saturday morning.
You make it sound so easy. I think Scott should just cut this bit and just put it on the whiteboard before the game and be like, just do what Louis says and we'll win.
Just play well, lads. I
think you've been playing too much football manager. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, quite possibly. No, just play. Just play football, lads. Just play really well. That's all there is to it.
But no doubt we'll have good backing. I mean, we tend to bring good numbers to Gillingham. Well, I think last time was on the Boxing Day, or I think it's Boxing Day.
It was Boxing Day. Boxing Day 2023. Will Wright free kick in top bins, and then a Jack Rolls deflected strike that flew into the top corner in the second half. And
Yeah.
and then the game before that was one of Scott's. I think it might have been Scott's first away game. Actually, it might have been his second game in charge. But that was when it was like you could get in for a quid. They were doing like a pay what you want scheme.
yeah.
And I think we took about 800 fans that day. So that was a good day out, but not necessarily a great result. But yeah, hopefully a good backing this time around. Obviously, a 5:30 kickoff. If you are going, don't forget it is a 5:30 kickoff. Because of course there's no Premier League or Championship football this this weekend. So what the what the footballing nation really wants is to see Gillingham versus Crawley on a Saturday evening. Forget any plans you had. Don't bother watching anything else. Don't bother with any Saturday night TV. Stick Gillingham v Crawley on. And
is it on
proper
like Sky Sports?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's on the Sky Sports football channel. Yeah. It might even be main event. I don't even.
Wow.
Possibly main event, but yeah, because I think that'll be the first time because normally we're on Sky Sports Plus because of the stupid 12:30 kickoffs, which or they're always a shame. But don't mind a 5:30 kickoff as much. Doesn't quite ruin the day as much as the 12:30 kickoff, and obviously, I think that means it will be on Sky Sports Football. Possibly Sky Sports main event, but yeah, obviously it'd be good to see a good backing. It's not too bad a journey, and hopefully the relatively short trip will be worth it for everyone who's going.
Yes, hopefully it will be. It'll be a good result if we can get something.
I'll take a point. Yeah,
but mate, Sky Sports Football, Gillingham v Crawley.
Yeah, there you go.
Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your long-lost cousin.
I think that's probably the first time we've been on, well, other than the playoffs, first time we've had a league game on a proper main Sky Sports channel for a long time. I can't remember the last time we did. So, yeah, I'd love to know what the logic was picking Gillingham v Crawley. Of all the games they could have picked, I don't know what the rest of Saturday's fixtures look like. But
what's the odds that Steve Evans is going to be like the host beforehand?
Nailed on. Obviously, he's out of work. He's possibly looking for a job. I mean, they could have put Shrewsbury v Newport on. They could have put Oldham v Crewe. They could, but yeah, Gillingham v Crawley. That's what the people want to see. Unfortunately for Gillingham, I just had a look. They are the 12:30 kickoff the weekend after, so they've got 2 TV home games in a row, which is unfortunate for them in a way. Yeah, but I'd absolutely take a point, I think. And I think we're more than capable of getting a point if we start well. If, obviously injuries and international duty pending, see what the squad looks like. But, yeah, I think we've got absolutely nothing to fear. And it sounds weird saying that going to the team that is 6th in the table. But, I mean, winning 1-0 away at Bristol Rovers, we've seen how poor Bristol Rovers are ourselves recently. I'm not necessarily... If that's your first win in 5, I'm not necessarily convinced that that's something to be too alarmed about as a Crawley fan. Obviously, you've got to respect them. They've had a good season. They're in 6th. We're in no position to sort of be a little bit snobbish about any other team's form. But I certainly don't think we should hold any fear going. And I really want to see us take the games to them. And
yeah, hopefully.
Obviously, see an old fan's favourite in Glenn Morris, but hopefully he's he's having an off day. That's all. I mean, I always wish Glenn well. Love him. Great player for us for a long, long time, but don't want to see him do well.
He should have retired.
I mean, to be fair, he's been. I think he's their player of the season last season, so clearly he's still got it.
I'm joking. You shouldn't ever retire. Like again,
I'd like to see him still going at 50.
And third choice goalkeeper over like Mitch Beanie and Yusuf Merson, maybe.
Don't talk about Yusuf Merson.
He's still playing first choice for Gillingham, which is just incredible. Anyway,
it is remarkable and fair play to him.
And for reminding you about Yusuf Merson, thanks very much, Louis, for joining me on this episode. And come on, you Reds.
Come on, you Reds.